Is XRP being replaced by XLM to run the new financial system? It's hard for me to say that with a straight face. You probably know the answer if you've been in our community for quite some time. But with the most recent performance and really outperformance that XLM has shown us, it has a lot of people saying that yes, XLM's the chosen one. XLM is going to run the new financial system, and XLM is better than XRP. So we're going to break down in today's update 3 reasons why I'm still more bullish on XRP long term than I am XLM. But just to be clear, we love Stellar. We respect the pump. Unlike some of the people that have been trying to be negative about this DTCC using Stellar announcement, we've been cheering it on the whole way. And I'll just expose myself. I don't have a peg of XLM right now, and I'm really regretting that decision. Traded in and out of Stellar multiple times. Right now, I'm sidelined and I'm watching this pump take place without any gains for myself. So that's my mistake, but I'm not going to be one of those guys that wants to try to bring back Stellar. God forbid another crypto pumps that I'm not in. That's not how we operate over here. But let's just stay level-headed about what's going on. Fantastic pump. We love to see it. Most importantly, the utility and announcement from the DTCC just legitimatizes our entire thesis on these utility digital assets being the chosen ones to run the new financial system. So if you don't have time for the whole update, it's both. It's XRP and XLM. But I encourage you guys to stick around so that you can understand the real difference in the setup here for this next bull run between XRP and XLM. Let's get started. This week's going to be a big one. Kobesi letter with the summary of what to look out for. ISM manufacturing PMI data on Monday. That's a big one, leading indicator of the next bull run. So we've been watching that one closely. We got the jobs on Tuesday, May ISM non-manufacturing PMI data on Wednesday, jobless claims Thursday, and jobs report Friday. So a big week for the manufacturing surveys. Very important data points, leading indicators of the U.S. economy, typically correlated with crypto bull runs as well too. When the ISM PMI is in expansion above 50, we see a correlation with crypto being in a bull run. So very important data point this week on that. And then of course the jobs report as well. We already know that we have hot inflation. We already know that the GDP for Q1 was revised down to 1.6. So growth has slowed. Inflation is running hot. And we are doing record draws from our strategic petroleum reserves across the world to kind of maintain things for now. And I have a data point right here with Japan crude oil reserves plunging by the largest amount in history. This is their SPR, and they just did their largest ever SPR drawdown. Here's the full chart for you guys to take a look at this one. We're doing the same thing in the United States of America. And we saw the report come out this week from Axios once again that the deal was done. And so we get the same headline basically every week. It's deja vu. I feel like I'm living in some alternative reality here where we actually take Axios serious. The deal's not done. The deal is not going to get done, in my opinion, at the negotiating table until there's a little bit more escalation. Until we blow that door wide open is what I said to my Discord group on Saturday. And I really just think that we don't have it done yet. And I'm expecting that escalation and the climax of the conflict to be right around the corner. And so I'm watching as they pushed oil back down to 87.75 to close off Friday. Here in a few hours, the futures market will open up. And we'll see what the market has to think about the fact that over the weekend, there was further attacks and escalation. And it's now being reported that Iran has rejected the deal. So we'll be watching that one closely. In June, this month, can you believe that we're already in June? Unbelievable. We'll be watching to see if we get any floor time scheduled for the Clarity Act progress. So that's the big thing to watch out for the next month here. Can we get Clarity Act moved along here, get it to President Trump's desk for signing by July 4th? The odds, in my opinion, very small. But I'm going to remain hopeful. And by the way, I know that there's some rhetoric out there that XRP is just fine without the Clarity Act. Sure, everybody knows that XRP is not a security, but the problem is that banks and institutions can't run the plumbing right? The new financial system that we're talking about here can't move to these rails at scale until we have clarity. Yeah, XRP is not a security, but how can you use XRP? How can you move these flows of liquidity, the tokenization, all of that on chain in a compliant and regulatory way? Without the Clarity Act, that can't be done. So we all should still be rooting, calling our politicians in DC that are supposed to be representing us and fighting to get the Clarity Act across the line. And we have to keep up the fight because you see the bankers, you see Jamie Dimon warning that stablecoins could blow up under the proposed Clarity Act. John Deaton, huge shout out to John, candidate running for Senate in Massachusetts once again. And he's going to take down Ed Markey. We're going to be a big part of that too. By the way, guys, we got to go support John Deaton. And I love him because this is what he does. He calls it out, as he should. He says, I think that maybe we shouldn't listen to anything the bad guy's banker has to say. I don't say that name on my show. You guys know what we're dealing with. Very bad, very sick people. And the banksters that were facilitating that, are we ever going to hold them accountable? And who has the you-know-what to stand up on that debate stage and press the issue and ask directly? We already saw John Deaton do it with Elizabeth Warren. Ed Markey, there's a reason why he doesn't want to come debate John. God bless him. God bless John Deaton. And we are praying that we do get the progress on the Clarity Act in June. Now, is XLM a better bet than XRP? According to Peter Brandt, legendary trader, very respected, XRP is the best bet. And old, why can't I can't even remember this guy's name. He's having a meltdown over this one. Take a listen.
XRP probably is the best.
Did you just say XRP is probably the best?
Yeah, I mean, right now, if you had a bet on a horse to become transactional, it would probably be XRP, Solana, ETH. I just think most of them are going to end up junk.
I didn't imagine that Peter Brandt would be talking about XRP, but I mean, you learn something new every day.
And that's Rand Nooner. I remember his name now. Rand. He doesn't like it. Well, you say XRP on his show, he's shutting you down. We close it off there. Okay, that's enough, Peter. And he said, as far as transactional, right? Real utility. And that's what we're getting at right here. DTCC selecting Stellar, part of their multi-chain approach. But we've already seen the patents from the DTCC, including XRP. And so for many of us, we've been saying, why aren't we seeing Ethereum in the patents? Why aren't we seeing Solana in the patents? We are seeing XRP and Stellar. And that's why XRP and XLM have been a staple of my portfolio and many of your guys' portfolios for quite some time. Right? And this is a weird moment in my crypto journey right now where I don't have any exposure to XLM, obviously kicking myself for that. But what I've done in the past is every time XLM has a little moment where it outperforms XRP for a brief period, it's just that. It's a brief period. It doesn't last long. And I've done this about 3 times, rolled that XLM bag into big bags of XRP. So right now, I'm kicking myself for not having exposure to Stellar, but that's kind of how I've done it in the past. And I want to show you guys right here. Here are the 3 reasons why I'm still more long-term bullish and have a stronger conviction in XRP than I do Stellar. When I've gone through my checklist on coin reviews for this bull run, what I'm looking at right now in 2026, does the project have ETFs? Spot ETFs, basket index ETFs? Can institutions get exposure to this asset through ETFs? That's very important so that you can soak up that supply. Without the ETFs, you're relying exclusively on retail adoption and retail liquidity, right? I mean, obviously, you're looking at the DTCC selecting Stellar. How much XLM is the DTCC going to go out and buy, though? Right? See, these ETFs, they soak up supply. In fact, if you look, the most recent numbers that I saw for the XRP ETFs is that we just crossed over the $900 million mark. Let's go take a look right here. XRP Insights, there it is. 904 million XRP locked, almost 1% of the total supply, and we're well over 1% of the circulating supply of XRP that's parked behind those spot and basket ETFs. And if you look here, the XRP ETFs compared to, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they have still seen inflows coming in. XRP ETFs have only seen 1 month of net outflows, and it was March, and it was not much. Very small amount of outflows in the month of March. And that was essentially, that brought in the bottom of the bear market. In February, we hit $1.12 on XRP. The Iran conflict started. Everybody was a little bit scared during that time. And so that's what it took. Global conflict and all of those other issues, right, to bring in 1 month of net outflows from the ETFs. But other than that, it's been nothing but money pouring in. More money coming in than's going out. And so this is soaking up the supply. And so when I'm looking at across all of these cryptos, I ask the question, are there ETFs? And then the next one is, are there any digital asset treasury companies that are putting it on their balance sheet? Now with XRP, there is. We have Evernorth. There's about a dozen other companies that have already made significant contributions and efforts towards their treasury. You're going to see this grow substantially over the next 12 months, in my opinion, with more companies launching XRP treasury strategies. But with XLM, I haven't seen any yet, right? For digital asset treasury companies, I don't count Ripple, right? Ripple has a big bag of XRP. We know that. But outside of Ripple, who's holding XRP on their balance sheet? We have Evernorth, and we have about a dozen other companies that are doing the same thing. With Stellar, you have the Stellar Development Foundation with the big bag of XLM. Outside of that, I don't know of any digital asset treasury companies putting XLM on the balance sheet. So the other problem is the ETFs for XLM are still non-existent at this point. And I fact-checked myself just to make sure. I wanted to make sure we were all up to date because this can change quickly. But right now, Rex Osprey has filed for a spot XLM ETF. It hasn't gone live yet. They filed in October 2025, still not live. And then Grayscale, they filed the S1 in September of 2025 to roll over their trust, their Grayscale Stellar Lumens Trust, to an ETF. That has not been done yet, though. So that is a Wall Street vehicle for getting exposure to XLM, not an ETF. But, let's acknowledge that. That's very good. Right? So there's one product here right now, and there's more on the way for spot exposure. Now for baskets, we do have a couple baskets as well too. The Hashtag NASDAQ Crypto Index US ETF includes a small allocation to XLM. In the Franklin Templeton Crypto Index ETF also has added XLM into that index ETF as well too. And that's what we want to see. For XRP though, there's a list of spot ETFs. There's multiple. XRP is included in that Hashdex and in that Franklin Index product as well too. Additional basket products are going to come as well. And eventually there will be multiple spot XLM ETFs, multiple basket and index products. But for right now, there's not really that many. So that's one hiccup on the XLM thesis right now for me, is that how can the institutions soak up supply if they can't get exposure through these regulated Wall Street products that they prefer? They don't necessarily like to go the route that we go, where we go to the exchange, we go to our broker platform, and we pick up a bag and hold it there. They're looking for the ETFs to get exposure. That's their preferred way to do so. So we got to give the institutions that option to add to that bull thesis. Right now, XLM is behind XRP in both camps. XRP has way more spot ETFs. XLM doesn't have any spot ETFs right now. And then there are over a dozen digital asset treasury companies putting XRP on their balance sheet. I don't know of any doing that with XLM. But like I said, this could change in an instant. So we could get an announcement next week that there's a new digital asset treasury company for XLM. We could get the announcement, any time now that the Grayscale rollover to the ETF is live, that the Rex Osprey has gone live, right? The SEC has helped to streamline this process, so they could accelerate this, and we could revisit this in a couple weeks or a couple months and say, okay, now Stellar does have ETFs and it does have digital asset treasury companies. But for now, it doesn't. This brings me to the third and final reason why I still have more of a bullish conviction and thesis in XRP, which is the community's conviction in these assets. I know that everybody's hyped on XLM right now. Everybody wants to take this opportunity. There's some people that want to take this opportunity to jab at XRP and say XLM's better than XRP and do that deal. That's always backfired though, because like I said, anytime XLM has ran on its own and outperformed XRP, that outperformance has never lasted long. It's never been lasting. So, I'm not here to try to stop the XLM rally. I love the fundamentals behind Stellar and XLM. I'm very bullish on it. I'm absolutely regretting not scooping up some XLM at the targets that I had on my chart that it actually went to and then proceeded to pump over 100% from said targets that I had on my chart. So I knew where it was going to go and didn't know that this DTCC announcement was going to come out and make it absolutely pop. But that's what happens in crypto. And I'm going to show you in the charts how I think that Stellar might be sending the signal of what we could expect on XRP here soon. But I put out this comment this morning on X: never underestimate the conviction in the XRP community. Most of us still believe XRP is heading to $1,000 at some point. I don't care about a date or, even if that number is too big for you, right? Most people in the community still think we're heading to $100 or $1,000 at some point. And many plan to never sell any XRP. This level of conviction is unmatched. The only community I think that comes close would be Bitcoin. I respect the holders over there. They believe it's going to $1 million at some point. A lot of them have plans to maybe never sell their Bitcoin. That's great. I don't buy into that story, but God bless them. But you don't see this level of conviction. Some call it delusion, but it adds to the bullish thesis because it just means that more people are going to hold that bag. They are not going to sell, myself included, just to be very clear. I don't plan on selling much of my XRP ever. And that difference in the community and the conviction and mindset of the holders is unmatched. So in that category, XRP wins out over XLM. Now, like I said, over the past week, XLM has absolutely outperformed XRP. We got to give credit where credit's due. But I'm going to go to the XLM chart and I'm going to show you. I think that Stellar is sending the signal right now, and it has me excited for what comes next on XRP. Take a look at the chart. So I had gone through all of our favorite altcoins like XLM, and I had made everybody aware of the levels that I thought that we would pull back to. And I put out all these charts in these red boxes after we got the big flush out in February to these lows, right? That wiped us out. And then we had to take a good hard look at ourselves and a good hard look at that chart and a good hard look at the fundamentals and say, wait, what's going on here? Now, how low can XRP go? Is XRP heading below $1? Is Stellar heading back below 10 cents? We had to answer that question. And so that's where my red box came in. And sure enough, it did come back into this level by the end of February going into March. It came right back into this level. It even came back and back tested it in April. But your patience would pay off if you didn't fill in here, if you had your orders staggered throughout this region, right? Because it chops sideways and it chops and it chops and it chops. And then finally it breaks down one last time right here. And it goes to 14 cents, May 23rd. Right before the fireworks start. And I want you guys to notice that this final pullback did not go below the February low of about 13.5 cents. It got close, but it only reached 14 cents before blast off. And XLM here pumped 112% from that low. So that's why we give the heads up on where we think this is going. This is why I share my analysis on a daily basis. If you appreciate it, please help us out by absolutely smacking that thumbs up. If you don't like what we do, then just smack the thumbs down and drop a comment for me telling us how we can improve. But I think that Stellar is showing you what XRP is about to do. If we compare on XRP, what would it look like if we did the same thing? Right? I got my red box back here. We never went back down to it yet. But are we heading back to this region? I think that we might. right? XRP goes down to $1.12, chopped sideways, 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 fake breakout to $1.55. I told you guys don't get excited. I waited and I just bought it $1.33. And I'm thinking if we do the same thing, right, we would pull back again into my red box, into that same region, but we wouldn't go back down to $1.12. Maybe we fall short here and we pick it up at $1.20. That is the region where I think you get an aggressive amount of buyers coming in. And it's why I think that we still won't see XRP going back below $1. Is the potential there? Absolutely. But you have to acknowledge the lineup of passive buyers waiting to accumulate XRP, just like they were on XLM. And XLM, right, did not come all the way back down to 13.5 cents where it went down to in February. It went down to 14 cents, got very close, explosion. What that looks like on the XRP chart is pulling back to about the $1.20 range, explosion. And that would look like XRP popping back up above $2 into about the $2.50 region in very short order. And just like we've seen with Stellar, you can be one announcement away from that taking place. And so I think that Stellar is sending a signal. I think that, congratulations for everybody that's made great money on this move. I worry about the Stellar pump right now in the middle of all the macro issues that are happening. But at this point, the bottom probably in on Stellar and the Stellar bull run probably underway. Don't be mistaken and think that that means that XRP is not right behind it. Now, for you guys that are looking for a platform to buy or trade, hold your digital assets in institutional custody, I've started to trade most of my bigger positions on Caleb and Brown. We have them linked up down below. It's absolutely free to set up your account today. But the reason why I wanted to let you guys know in this video in particular about Caleb and Brown as we talk about XLM is because a lot of people have started to take profit or are going to be looking to take profit soon on XLM. I caution you with these platforms because what I've seen is on smaller projects like XLM and even smaller projects, it gets much worse. But even with XLM, I would be kind of concerned because the liquidity is not as strong and as deep as it is as XRP and some other assets. And what happens when you go to trade on other platforms with assets with low liquidity is, your trading fee might only be 1%, but I've been paying 5 to 8% total transaction cost when you include the transaction fee, which might only be 1 or 2%, but then the spread that they hit you with on top of that. And this is why I love trading on Caleb and Brown, especially bigger positions that you want to trade and then maybe cash out. They don't tack on any spread on top of your trade. So you're going to pay 2 or 3% on Caleb and Brown, but you're not going to pay that additional spread that you're going to get hit with, and you might not even realize it on these other platforms. So just wanted to make everybody aware, if you're looking for a great platform to just hold assets or to trade, this is why I'm doing most of that activity over on Caleb and Brown right now. They're linked up down below, completely free to sign up, and they can pick up the phone and give you great customer support as well too. So check them out down below. And before you guys leave, drop it in the comments down below. Let me know. Some people are telling me that I sold off all my XRP for XLM. That's scary to me. Which is the better bet? Which one do you have more conviction in? Let me know in the comments down below. XRP or XLM? Thank you and God bless you all. Going to be a busy week. Stay tuned for more. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.